welcome! These are horse racing selections for Thursday, the 19th of October. I am Flat Cap Callum and I am hoping you are all very, very well. Alright, I've had a little bit of a debate, but I'm going to keep it simple-ish for Thursday. When I say simple-ish, obviously the bet itself's got bits on it and all that sort of jazz. It wouldn't be me if it wasn't. When I say simple, I'm going 5 horses, 5 races, 1 bet. So we've got 1 Canadian for the day, or Super Yankee, depending on how you would describe it. 5 horses, 5 races, nice and straightforward. To be fair, I looked at it beforehand, and before I'd gone through the details, I think it could be one of them days. I kind of was hoping it was one of those days. Yeah, there was some debate about some of the Chelmsford races about doing a combination double. So I know some people will be delighted. They like a little simple, straightforward day where it's just 1 bet. If there is 1 bet, I would think there's going to be a little bit more price movement on some of them in the market because there'll be a slightly higher strength following the channel going into it. So I think that might be the case. We'll see. I know there's other people who are like, oh, it's not very exciting, just 1 bet. Is that what you're doing? It's 5 horses, right? 3:45 Wincanton and all the way to 8:30 Chelmsford. Keep you busy for 5 hours, just having a look of refreshing and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, before I get to that, I'll do the review of Wednesday. We had a profitable day Wednesday and a very good strike rate day, but didn't convert to a lot of cash. So we've got to talk through that. The golf starts tomorrow. Although it's funny times because it's in Spain, it will start in the morning, and then I think the US tournament is actually physically in Japan. So it's the PGA Tour, but it's in actual Japan. So I think it doesn't actually start until midnight on Thursday night, like early hours just after midnight. I think it's the early hours of Friday morning, I think, is when it starts, if I've got my clocks right. So that's that. So yeah, we'll do the review. And then after I've done the bet for Thursday, I said I was going to talk about the tips to competitions. So I'll give you an update on the Fantasy Tipster League, about how we got on last week and what the current standings are. And I said I was going to talk about side bets, so I'll try and do that. There was a couple of other things I think that were on my mind from things, but I promise it won't be whatever 43 minutes. That just got out of hand, didn't it? Like, just sometimes you wind me up and just keep on chuntering. So hopefully some people appreciate. There was a couple of comments about people enjoying the waffle, but there you go. I know not everybody won't. I didn't get loads of hate mail of just shut up, you moron. So yeah, there we go. Right, so Wednesday we had 1 non-runner that took us down to 12 selections, and we managed to get 7 framing, which is 58%. So for those of you who follow the channel and take interest and marginally care about this sort of stuff, by my book that's an absolute crackerjack of a day. 58% strike rate, so 30% is about average for what we're doing. Say about 30% is probably the high 20s. You'd be looking averages about in the low 30s for Sky Bet probably. So high 20s. 35% should give us an opportunity. 40 and above should mean it's a nice day. So to get 58 is great, and decent enough prices. It was like 25, 16s, 14s, 12s, 10s. But didn't convert because we didn't have 4 on 1 line. So we started off here, 145. Teddy Boy managed to scrape 6th, which was good enough for Sky. 365, Paddy and Betway, they all paid 6th on that race, 4 bookmakers. Then the 252 Bath Hey Mister turning in, I thought, oh yeah, we could be on here, and then he seemed to sort of fade, so that was a bit disappointing. Honky Tonk Angel, I mean, it drifted to hundreds. It clearly outran those odds because it was 11th of 21, I think, in the end. So it was finished halfway down. But I know some people went on and backed it in the kind of the extra bet market 9th and 10th, and it goes and finishes 11th, doesn't it? Brilliant. So it outran its odds, but not there. And it was the only runner we had at Navan out of the 5 in the end that didn't frame. And then 505 Briahur, solid horse. We've backed it many times. It's done us a favour many times. Again, backed in shorter. I said none of these would drift. I think that was shorter. That was the same price. That was shorter, and that was shorter. So by rights, I had that one right. So we ended up with just a place double, Teddy Boy and Briar, and we had each way single returns for Teddy Boy and Briar on that bet one. Then we did slightly better on bet two. So we started with Pulse of Shanghai, that was a close second behind stablemate Navrosi, which definitely was pickable. It was a nice price. If I was reading that race in terms of value, from a value point of view, when I read the market, Navarosi was about 4th or 5th on my list in terms of possibles. Pulse of Shanghai, from a value perspective, was just the nudge for me. So yeah, not to be on that one, but second we'll take. Shabazz then was 4th, and we needed top 3, obviously. Jazzy Rock drifted to 20, so some might have got that before it went right into 9. We went short, actually. I think it went about 7s and then back out to 9s, but that was second. So we had 2 Navan handicaps there with 20 plus runners, and we managed to get double figure price second horses, and then 10th Amendment got pulled out. So 2 nice places with a non-runner, so that turned a nice little bit of profit back for that. And then on the combo double, we had no good, place, non-runner, so that turned a small profit on that. And then we went into Chelmsford's Thursday, Kempton Wednesday, and carrying on a nice run on the all-weather. So this is time of year, as regular channels know, and we hit some really good stuff last year. We haven't hit those dizzy heights yet, but strike rate on the all-weather at the moment is good. So Reki Dame placed at 4 for most after drifting to 14s. Granary Kareem was a disappointment, but that race was odd. It was a 66 to 1 winner that would have been hard to pick, I think, for some. Wasn't completely impossible, but hard to pick. But yeah, all the favourites struggled. The pace was all a bit over the place in that race. So it's one of those ones where I wouldn't expect the horses that ran well in that race to then run well next time out. I think it was a bit of a funny race. Then the 8 o'clock, Haku, another drifter, I think it was 18s. That place, French Invasion, didn't after coming in shorter. So again, we had shorteners that underperformed, drifters overperformed, same as we had Chelmsford last week. And then Time Wave, that went off much shorter and won nicely. So we had two places and a win, and so that turned a little bit of a profit. Now, if you were on with Bob Bookies, then you'd have done better because the 2 drifters. That is the bet I said on the video yesterday. I think there could be a bit of topsy-turvy betting on that one. So yeah, Julie was drifters. So yeah, it seeming to be the case at the moment on the all-weather. We're finding some drifters that are doing all right. The shorteners are not. And again, I've said it so many times. I'm just trying to break people's understanding, because when people get into betting, they think shortening is good, drifting is bad. That is not necessarily the case. Sometimes shortening means very significant amounts of money have gone on from insider knowledge. The vast majority of times, that is not what it actually means. That means somebody somewhere thinks something of that horse. And therefore the rest of the great horses have to then go up in the market, because the bookmakers can't make everything shorter. And what it means is then if whoever punted on that other one that didn't have inside knowledge, just liked it, got it wrong, some wedgie cash wedges, then it gives an opportunity for the other ones to drift out. So drifting is not a terrible thing. So yeah, 22 on, I think it was 25 and something. It was about £3 something, £3.29 profit, which 58% strike rate of framing and £3.29 profit. I mean, that's painful. But again, as I've said, the last 2 weeks we are knocking on that bookmaker's barn door. We just need to try and get them all aligned. Now Thursday we're on a more straightforward gig. We've got 5 horses. It's simple. We need 2 winners or 3 places to try and make ourselves a bit of cash on this. So, what we got? Bet 1, the only bet. This is what we've got. So we need, as I said, I think 2 winners, and I'm pretty sure the way I'm calculated, I think any 3 places might do it. So we've got 345 Wincanton. So one on the jumps. You'll notice there's nothing in Ireland. I didn't want to do anything at Thales. So 345 Wincanton, one on the jumps. Rath MacD. I think definitely overpriced. Don't necessarily think it's going to shorten up. It's a very kind of unknown stable, I think, for most people. It's only had one ride for that stable, previous with Nicky Henderson. So people are going to look and go, well, if Nicky Henderson couldn't sort that horse out, why, if it's gone to a small stable, is that going to make any difference? But it ran credibly enough. It didn't finish well in placings wise, and its last run for Henderson, it didn't finish well placing wise. But in terms of actually competitiveness, it wasn't terrible. And I think if it moves on from last time out, then I actually think it's on a competitive enough handicap mark in what is a very weak race with nothing too strong in it. So yeah, I think as I say, I don't necessarily think it's going to get backed in. But if I actually was, from a purist point of view, its chances of framing, I would put it as about 14-1. So there's quite a lot of value in 33s. I just don't necessarily think the market's going to react to it because of the stable. And if you look, some people follow horses about, what were the last figures? Was it 1, 2, 4, 9, 3, 2, 4? That sounds quite good because there's lots of 1, 2, 3s in there. Whereas this horse, you won't look at that. So there's lots of reasons why the average punter will absolutely not look at that horse. But I think it could well be competitive enough. And Tabor Thursday's riding it and taking £3 off. That might help a little bit. So we'll definitely worth chancing, albeit it's a very unlikely looking winner on paper. So Rath McNee's the big price for the day. Then 4:30 Brighton. So watch out in the 4:30 Brighton. There's a horse called Shoot to Kill It. Ran at Kempton. Ran well on Wednesday night. It's currently priced up 100 to 30 in some places. I'm very, very doubtful that's going to run, and then it's going to put in a Rule 4. So it's hard because I'm not saying leave the bet till the morning, but I am very conscious that there's probably going to be a Rule 4 going on to that Max Dilemma because I'm putting it down the night before. You got to make your own decisions. I'm happy to back that horse the night before because I think the price should be shorter. But yeah, Max Dilemma 14-1 in the 4:30 Brighton, and then we've got 3 at Chelmsford, 6:30 Chelmsford, darker 16s, 7:30 Chelmsford. That's been a regular on the channel. Estrella Star at 12s. I was between that and one at a much bigger price, but I just think Estrella Star is so solid over Chelmsford, over Marlon 4, that 12-1 absolutely doesn't do that horse justice. I mean, I'm not saying the horse should be odds on or anything like that, but actually I would make the horse probably about 11-2. So 11-2, whereas you're getting 12-1 and you can get 14s in a couple of places. Is a really good. There's a really good amount of value in there, so you're getting double the value, double the price that should be in my book. And then the 8:30 Chelmsford, that's been the tricky one. I wanted to use that race, and I was between about 3, and in the end, and that's why I was looking at doing combo doubles with those two races, and they just, it just felt like for a combo doubles overall they were just a bit on the shorter side of prices. But I've opted for Meadram to kick on from last time. It ran a nice race at Chelmsford last time it was there, and I think that's a decent bit of form. So it hasn't got loads and loads of form in the book to say it's going to run brilliantly well at Chelmsford, but last time it was good. So we'll go Meadram at 10s, 10p each way Canadian or Super Yankee, depending on what your bookmaker calls it. But basically it's 26 bets. It's each way doubles, trebles, fourfolds and fivefold. So that's £5.20 that should add up to. Then we've got 50p. I don't think the colours have come out very well on the screen. We'll see. 3 50p each way singles. So basically the first 3 are 50p each way singles, and the bottom 2, Estrella Star and Meadram, 50p win singles. So straightforwardly enough, in that the bigger 3 prices in the first 3 are 50p each way. The bottom 2 shorter prices are 50p win singles. And then we're going to go for our double of the day at Chelmsford, Darker and Estrella Star. So 40p each way double, Darker and Estrella Star. That one's got a much bigger price, but it's a riskier horse in terms of percentage chance of it actually likely to frame. But there's that, from a value point of view, there's a huge amount of value in the horse. So that adds up to £10. That is our stake today, £10. Sky Best, but only because they're offering 4 in that 3:45 Wincanton. Outside of that, the watch out is Paddy. That most bookies are 4 there, but Paddy are only 3. Most bookies are 4 across the board on these Chelmsford ones. So I'm calling it a Sky Best only because the top one, and that could be a useful 4th place offering. And then 365 Coral or Ladbrokes because you'll get best price guaranteed. And then Betfair, Betfred, Unibet, Betway. Specifically not calling out Hills. I wouldn't be looking at Hills for this bet. There are loads and loads of bookies better than Hills on this specific bet, so I would not advise. I say I wouldn't advise it. I just think if you've got choices, don't use it, basically. So it's not a terrible thing to do, but you're going to be disadvantaging yourself compared to the majority of other people betting if you use Hills. Paddy only lose out on that one race, but you do get a quarter of the odds, so there's a little bit of balancing out, but you just, unfortunately, if it came fourth, it wouldn't look so good, but if it came third, you'd actually get a better price than other bookmakers because you'd be getting a quarter of the odds. And although I've said this before, between a quarter and a fifth, it doesn't sound like a lot. When you're doing it in accumulators, the difference between if 3 horses place and that one places 2, the difference between that being a fifth of the odds and a quarter of the odds can actually make quite a significant amount of pounds even for this small stake. So that is the bet for the day. Bet 1, the only bet. That's that. So side bets. I'm going to mention about side bets. So I had a question asked of me about side bets, and I'm just careful a bit what I want to say because bookmakers are smart people, but they haven't figured out everything. And there's definitely some loopholes that exist out there. So we talk a lot, or it's been a regular conversation here about side market on 365 specifically. They offer a decent extra place market, which is useful to use sometimes. What I would say to you is if all you do is just hammer your 365 account for the extra place market, you're making a profit on it, your account won't last for long. So you're more likely to get flagged by using purely on side bet markets than if you were balancing out with the main market. That's a better way of doing it, but you're more likely to get flagged if you're only using it for a side bet option. The question I got was, how come you don't get rule 4s on those? Because it seems that you retain the place terms and the rule 4s don't kick in. Rule 4s are only applicable in the normal under betting market rules because they've got to look after overround figures. So there's a certain percentage that the bookmakers can take in terms of the value that's on their side of these sort of things. And if there's non-runners, there's a specific criteria that all bookmakers have to adhere to about rule 4 deductions. That is for outright markets in competitive betting. That doesn't apply to optional side bets, side markets that bookmakers try and do. There are various loopholes I've used over years with different bookmakers to great success at points, but then eventually what happens is the bookmakers either shorten the price so they actually take away the value because they're not under the same restrictions as the main market, or they start applying things like Rule 4. So it was a very similar situation to what 365 offer now with a different bookmaker. I used to use it quite a bit. The benefit of that is you could actually put them into multiples. So for those of you who use that, can imagine if you actually could put, 8th place and that kind of stuff in multiples, it was great. But then they quickly sort of shortening prices and then applied Rule 4s, but really like crazy Rule 4s to them. Not necessarily what you'd get for the industry standard because they were using the side bet prices and therefore there's a non-runner. And it just became unviable. So at some point the 365 market may well just stop doing what they're doing and they may tighten up and put Rule 4s in there. So enjoy it while it's there. When people spot these other opportunities, there'll be people on here who see things and use things all the time. So feel free to share any loopholes you think you've got where you think there's some sort of advantage or an edge that would appeal to people on the channel. I look for things all the time, look for edges in different markets and different side markets to see what's available, and that's why, for instance, for the golf, you'll see me putting out things like top category bets that a lot of people wouldn't touch. But the way I read it, I can try and see value in those markets too. So, as we always say, eventually, if you're doing well, your account will get closed, whatever way you're doing it. So, whether or not you do using main market, side market, singles only, lucky 15s all the time, eventually you'll get restricted. I try my best to just careful of my words. My account don't look. I try and mask the behaviour of my account. Is how I would describe it. And I've touched this before. People hopefully can appreciate. There's only so much I'm going to say on a service that's going out on the internet. Because I don't want to shoot myself in the foot completely from things that I do. But obviously I'm trying to help. I genuinely there's things that I can do to an account to make it not appear to be what bookmakers might want to be searching for, and therefore the longevity and the maximum yield can be greater. Now, clearly, the way I do things is I'm trying to accumulate money over a period of time. So if you want to do smash and grab jobs, that's a little bit different. I would stand by what I do. You can get a greater yield overall by doing what I do before restrictions might kick in, because it is less overt from a triggers point of view. Now, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of every single bookmaker and triggers, because it will change all the time, and there's not some sort of insider knowledge. I'm just using my knowledge of betting industry and markets to think about how and when, the time I place bets, the amount I place bets, the amount of money that goes on bets, the physical stake that goes on bets, the types of bets. There's all sorts of different things that you can do, and I'm not talking about just putting in random bets that are pointless and stupid and won't make any money, or ones that have got absolutely terrible value attached to them. I'm not talking about that. But I'm gonna. Hopefully, people can respect. There's only so much I'm going to say. Who knows who's watching? And as much as I can mask the channel up as much as I like with a rustic feel and mild banterous nature and random plants and stuff like that, that's what I'll say. Anyway, so what was going to fantasy tipster, right? So fantasy tipster, and then that'll be the video done. Fantasy tipster. So Samar Kevin, number one, coming into last weekend, and then he goes and smashes 5 point each way on Bashful Boy, 100-1 in the Cesarovic. Lovely, absolutely lovely. That is. Then comes out with another 95 points. So top going into the weekend, top overall this weekend. So absolutely smashing the leaderboard. So second last week was John Hurahan. So with Samar Kevin based in Australia, John is based in Spain. So there's an international feel to the leaderboard this week. So got my note here. So we had Samar Kevin 95 top draw last week. John Hurahan 45 second place. Well done, John. I think that might be your first time in the top 10 off memory. Rob Walking 34.40. Stephen Taylor 34. Robin Wilson 27. Lee in 6th with 24, and then the top 10 was made up of Robin, so the other Robin, who's a regular on the channel, Drawman, Jackie Webster, and Mike Fletcher. So well done to all of you, made the top 10. It meant the overall top 10 had less changes than we've had from week to week. So the top 7, I think it was, were in the same. We're in the top 10 last week. So Samar Kevin is now top with £181. And bear in mind, he's played every single week, all 8 weeks. So that's decent going, £181. So he's placed £80 and he's got £181 profit if he actually put those bets on for himself. Second, we now got Robin Wilson at 72. Drawman has been kicking about the top 10 for a while, 67.60. Alex Powell 4th. John P is 5th. And then we run down. There was I need to as I often will do at this point is say I wouldn't be lost without Stephen King's help on the stats, but honestly the man is incredibly helpful, and he's putting in a bunch of time out of his own goodwill to help me with the Tips League stuff, and all the data he provides me is brilliant. So it gives me an opportunity to kind of compare and contrast and stuff. There was one discrepancy from something he sent me. So his top 10 looked one different to my top 10. And Stephen, if you're watching, which I'm sure you probably are, I do know I need to email you, and you asked me some very pertinent questions about stats going forward. So I shall aim to get back to you in the next 24 hours. Thank you very much. But one discrepancy. There was somebody in his top 10 that wasn't in my top 10. I don't know. We need to fish that out. So I'll put the top 10 from last week, the overall top 10 in here, but pending that me and Stephen have some sort of gigantic disagreement about who might actually be in 7th place. So we'll confirm. So if you're sat there thinking, well, do you know what? I think I did a lot better, and you're not put in the top 10, then you know that I've made an error. But yeah, so it's going well. It's good. We had 6 new entrants this week, so it's nice, but it's not uncontrollable, I would say, at the moment. But keeping on top of the stats is key. And last week, actually, channel viewers fared better than I thought. I thought we'd get mullered last week with Zarovich and there being 30 odd runners, and then the sprint at where was it, York, whatever it was. But actually, generally it wasn't so bad. I think we had, I've written down 19 profitable entrants out of 65, and at 40 lost everything. So it was not far out from where we've been. All right, that's me. I'll leave it there. You've got my bet. We've done the tipster. I've talked about side markets. Golf starts tomorrow. We've got 5 horses. I'll be back Thursday night for giving you whatever I can find for Friday. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.